Good day, everyone. My name is Leslie Cañete, and I'm the leader of Group 5. So today we will be talking about the organizations that Jose Rizal was involved in and established. These organizations play a big role in shaping our national identity and inspiring the Filipinos to fight for reforms and eventually independence. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to, number one, to categorize the different organizations Rizal formed, discuss the reason why each was established, and classify the specific contributions of each organizations. So there was a saying, and the saying is, if one plans to achieve something great, he cannot do it alone. So in this saying, Rizal believed in this. That's why he always worked with trusted and like-minded people. So during his time in Europe and in the Philippines, he formed or joined different organizations to give Filipinos a stronger voice and to push for reforms. So today, we will look to those organizations one by one. So the first organization is the Kidlat Club. So this organization was formed in the 1989 during the Paris expansion. So kani siya nga organization kay nahitabo during the Paris exposition. So the members in this club is Antonio Luna, Baldomero Rujas, Fernando Canon, and Juan Luna. But here's the thing. It wasn't a very serious organization. So this organization, kay dili jud siya ingon, like very serious jud kaayo nga pagka-form. So it was more of a temporary social club created for Filipinos abroad. So mura ra siya temporary club nga gihimo for the Filipinos nga naa sa lain nga nasod. So para unsa man ni siya to bond with one another. So it was short-lived, but it started the idea of the unity. So after this Kidlat Club, this group became Los Indios Bravos. So ang Kidlat Club kay nahimo siya og Los Indios Bravo. So they were inspired by the Native American Indians they saw at the exposition. So this was inspired by Native American Indians nga nakita nila dito sa Paris exposition. So Spaniards used the word Indio as an insult. But Rizal and his companions transformed it into a word of pride. So for the Spaniards, the word Indio is an insult. But then Rizal and katong mga kauban niya sa group kay ila to transform into a word of pride. So, imbis na insult siya, they transform it into a word of pride. So, Los Indios Bravos focus on proving Filipino capability and dignity. They trained themselves in physical strength, intellectual skills, and moral character to show that Filipinos were strong and brave. So, from there, the Filipinos become more serious. So, now they created the Asociación La Solidaridad. So this group was a political group that united Filipinos in Europe and gave them a platform to push for reforms in the Philippines. So, and from this association came one of the most important tools of the reform movement, which is the newspaper called La Solidaridad. So, unsa man din ang La Solidaridad? So, La Solidaridad newspaper became official voice of the Filipino reformists. So, Rizal published some of his most famous works here. So, unsa man to ang iyang mga gipang-publish nga work under the La Solidaridad. So, first is the Indolence of the Filipinos. So, iya gi-explain the read that Filipinos were not lazy by nature. Instead, Spanish colonial policies discouraged productivity. Man works for an object. Remove the object and you reduce him to inaction. And the next work he published he publishes The Philippines a Century Hence. So in this, Rizal analyzed what the future might hold for the country. He warned of foreign powers like the United States, who might one day take an interest in colonizing the Philippines. Perhaps the great American Republic may dream someday of foreign possession. So, through these writings, Rizal gave voice to the struggles and aspirations of Filipinos. And when Rizal returned to the Philippines, he wanted to continue his reforms here at home. So on July 3, 1892, he founded the La Liga Filipina at the Onjonco residence in Tondo. So members included Domingo Franco, Pedro Serrano Lactao, Ambrosio Salvador, Apolinario Mabini, Andres Bonifacio, and many others from different social classes. Rizal himself wrote its constitution. So, unsa man daay ang aims aning La Liga Filipina? So, the La Liga Filipina had clear goals. Number 1 is to unite the archipelago into one strong body, to give mutual protection in the time of need. Number 3, to defend against violence and injustice. Number 4, to encourage education, agriculture, and commerce. And lastly is to study and apply reforms. So, we notice here that Rizal wasn't calling for armed revolution. Instead, he was focusing on peaceful reform and national unity. But sadly, La Liga Filipina didn't last long under Rizal because of the Rizal's arrest. Because just a few days after it was formed, Governor General Eulogio Dispojol had Rizal arrested and exiled to Dapitan, Mindanao. Because of this, Rizal could no longer directly lead the organization. So, now here on Influence on Katipunan, even if Rizal was gone, his vision lived on. Some members of La Liga Filipina, including Andres Bonifacio, went on to establish the Katipunan. The Katipunan became a revolutionary group that fought the independence through armed struggle. So, though Rizal himself was not part of the Katipunan, his writings and examples gave them inspiration and guidance. So, to summarize this topic, which is the organizations formed by Rizal, which is number 1 is the Kidlat Club. It's a temporary unity during Paris Exposition. The Los Indios Bravos, the Dignity and Pride of Filipino, Asociación La Solidaridad, political group in Europe, and the La Solidaridad, a reformist newspaper with Rizal's K writings, and the La Liga Filipina, National Unity and Reforms in the Philippines. And lastly is the Katipunan, which is a revolutionary group inspired by Rizal's idea. And that is all for my part. Thank you for listening, and now let's move on to the next reporter.
Okay, now let's proceed to exploration corroborating historical sources. So, this is all about how Rizal studied history using the book Socialos de las Islas Filipinas by Antonio de Morga. So, ang first, Rizal used the Book of Morga as a primary source, which is what I've mentioned earlier, the Socialos de las Islas Filipinas. So, katong si Rizal, nag-embark siya sa iyang mission to give his countrymen a written history, so mo ni iyahang gigamitan as, or gigaidan as a source. Kay, kuan man siya, na siya direct nga event from the past. So, example na niya are diaries, artifacts, personal testimonies, or of witnesses. Second, secondary sources. So, dili lang kay isa iyahanggi to sumban, but also ikaduha. Duha ka buoks di I mean. So, these are the narrative written by historians or writers. Mga example ani niya are books, textbooks, and journal articles. Now, to make sure nga reliable ang information or sources ni Rizal, he applied two historical methods. These are external criticism and internal criticism. Now, first, let's talk about external criticism. So, in this part is you're going to check if ang document is authentic or genuine. When we say authentic is not false but real and actual. So, ang basihan na niya is in its physical form. Like, sakto ba ang nakabutang og kinsay writer ato nga book, or sakto ba ang nakasulat kung kanos nga date gisulat or gipublished ang kanang nga book. So, what Rizal did is iyang gitanaw ang Morga's book and iyang gi-check og pamayo if kinsa true author or reliable ba ang copy, and then ang publication date is sakto ba. In short, this answers the question, is this source authentic and real? Second, now let's proceed to internal criticism. So this is about you're going to check if accurate ang intention sa content sa book. So, if ang author ba, if unsa joy main purpose nga nung gisulat ni sa author, or unsa joy pasabot ani nga book, and nabay bias nga nahitabo or ni-exist. So, all in these were employed by Rizal in his annotation to Socielos de las Islas Filipinas. So, in which nakafocus na siya sa content sa book if trustworthy ba siya or unbiased. So, ang gibuhat ni Rizal is iyahang check ang katong book ni Morga about Filipinos, Spain and colonization. Then, example niya is si Morga daw nag-wrote siya og negative about Filipinos sa iyahang book. Because at this time is na-influenced by man siya sa the author himself, na-influence sa Spanish colonial perspective. So Rizal annotated this part, pointing out the real achievements of pre-colonial Filipinos such as their governance, culture, and craftsmanship. So, internal criticism answer the question, is the information inside reliable? What hidden motives or perspectives are here? So, muna siya. In this way is kanang Rizal, dili lang ingon kay nagbasa siya about sa book, but also he analyze, question, and annotate it. So that Filipino consider past more clearly. So, in conclusion, this shows how Rizal carefully used historical sources and methods to write a truthful version of Philippine history for his fellow Filipinos.
Bipartite versus tripartite view of history. So, what is bipartite view of history? So, it divides into two periods, which is the ancient or the pre-colonial and the modern or the colonial period. While the tripartite, it divides into three periods, which is the pre-colonial, the colonial, and the post-colonial. So before that, let's begin with Rizal's awakening. So Rizal's experience with unequal treatment in Calamba in 1887 led him to lose faith in Spanish colonialism and envision a separate Filipino nation. So Rizal's journey coincided siya when his experience in Calamba in 1887 ang diin siya naka-face of unequal treatment from the Spanish authorities, and this treatment was not just personal, it was a reflection of the larger colonial system that oppressed Filipinos. So Rizal's awakening came when he realized Spanish colonialism was unjust and discriminatory. So this realization sparked a change in his thinking. So as he witnessed sa mga injustices nga nahitabo, Rizal began to envision a separate Filipino nation, one that was free from Spanish and could stand on its own. He believed that Filipinos deserve the same rights and privileges as any other people. So this led him to katong iyang gisuat ang iyang novel, which is the Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, which highlights the struggles of Filipinos and the need for reform. So as we can see in the Noli Me Tangere, Rizal portrayed the struggles of characters like Crisostomo Ibarra, where he faced discrimination and corruption. So it mirrors the real life experience of many Filipinos. So next is the historical predecessors. So other Filipinos like Father Jose Burgos and Isabela de los Reyes attempted to combat colonialism through historical narratives, though their works had limitations. So before Rizal, there were other Filipinos who fought against colonialism using the power historical narratives. So mag-write sila of historical narratives, then it figures like Father Jose Burgos and Isabela de los Reyes sought to challenge the dominant colonial discourse. So they wrote about the Filipino history and culture to counter the negative stereotypes propagated by the colonizers. So Father Jose Burgos was an advocate for the rights of Filipinos and called for reforms in the church and government. So Isabela de los Reyes naman kay nag-emphasize sa importance of Filipino identity and heritage in his writings. So however, ang ilang works often faced limitations. They were not widely circulated and their ideas were sometimes ignored or suppressed by the colonial authorities. So Burgos' writings aimed to show that Filipinos had their own rights and dignity, but he was ultimately executed for his beliefs, highlighting the dangers of challenging colonial rule. So the next is the colonial myths. So Spaniards promoted the myth of lazy natives, blaming Filipinos for societal stagnation and portraying them as ingrates against colonial rules. So colonial powers often created myths to justify their control over a territory. So sa Philippines, the Spaniards promoted the idea that Filipinos were lazy and ungrateful. Mga lazy daw, mga tamaran daw ang Filipino o mga ungrateful. This myth served to blame the Filipino for societal issues, painting them as incapable of self-governance. So by portraying Filipinos in this light, the Spaniards could argue that colonial rule was necessary for progress and civilization. So these myths had a lasting impact on how Filipinos viewed themselves and their history. It created a narrative that undermined the rich cultural heritage of the Philippines and portrayed the colonizers as benevolent figures bringing civilization to a backward land. So the stereotype of the lazy native was used to justify harsh labor practices and oppressive policies, further entrenching colonial rule. So next is the bipartite view of history. So this biased perspective presents a twofold framework of darkness, which is the backwardness, and the light, which is the civilization. So this view suggests that Philippines had no real civilization before the arrival of the Spanish, ignoring the complexity of pre-colonial societies. So this perspective is problematic because it overlooks the advanced system of governance, trade, and culture that existed in the Philippines prior to colonization. So the barangay system was a form of organized community life with its own leaders, laws, and customs. So in trade relations with neighboring countries like China and Japan reflected a rich and vibrant economy. So by claiming that Filipinos were uncivilized before Spanish rule, the bipartite view diminishes the achievements of pre-colonial societies such as their sophisticated art, agriculture, social structures.
So now let's proceed to tripartite view of history. In contrast, This view emphasizes the decline of an advanced Filipino civilization due to Spanish rule, structured as light, darkness, light, highlighting the potential for reclaiming their former glory after colonialism. So, kaning pananaw sa history gitawag og light, darkness, light. So, meaning una na ay light or panahon nga advance og taas ang level sa atong Filipino civilization before sa Spanish rule. Pag-abot sa mga Kastila, nisulod ang darkness kay giundang nila ang kultura kaugalingon nga sistema. So, ang kalinaw sa mga kultura o kanang kaugalingon nga sistema o kalinaw sa mga Pilipino, pero naagihapon ang possibility nga mobalik ang light human sa colonialism kung i-reclaim nato ang atong gloria. So sa panahon ni Lapu-Lapu og mga dato naanay organized government og trade with other nations or tawag ana light. So pag-abot sa Kastila, diba gipugos ta nga sundon ilang relihiyon og mga balaod. So apan human sa revolution og independence movement, nibalik ang pagpaningkamot nga ipakita ang kaugalingong identity og kalinaw.
So, by understanding the differences between the bipartite and tripartite view of history is crucial for a more comprehensive understanding of Filipino identity. The tripartite view includes the rich civilization that existed before colonization, acknowledging that Filipinos had a vibrant history filled with achievements and cultural richness. This approach not only helps reclaim lost narratives, but also empowers Filipinos to appreciate their heritage and identity. So by recognizing the contributions of figures like Rizal, Burgos, and De Los Reyes, we can see the importance of historical narratives in shaping our understanding of the past. So reminds us that history is not just about the events that happened, but also in the stories we tell about ourselves and how we choose to define our identity.
So next is need for evidence. So while many Filipinos criticize Spanish rule, they required solid historical evidence to counter the dominant colonial narratives. So daghan kaayo mga Pilipino nga supak sa mga Kastila, pero dili igo ang criticism lang. Kinahanglan og historical evidence aron kanang masulpalpalan ang colonial narratives nga nagpakita sa mga Pilipino kuno walay kaugalingon nga sibilisasyon og backward. Kung moingon ang Kastila, for example, kung moingon ang Kastila nga walay kanang kultura ang mga Pilipino before kami. So dapat na ebidensya or dapat kanang naay evidence nga nagpakita nga naatay baybayin, trade relations o mga sariling governance system before pa sila. So next is Rizal's contributions. So Rizal's extensive research and modern historical methods laid the foundation for Philippine historiography, particularly through his annotations of Antonio de Morga's Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas in 1890. So si Rizal naghatag og kanang dako kaayong foundation sa Philippine historiography. Naghimo siya og modern historical methods og gigamit niya ang scientific approach. Ang pinaka-famous example mao ang iyang annotations of Antonio de Morga's Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas 1890. So si Rizal gi-annotate ang libro ni Morga aron ipakita nga before ang Spanish colonization ang mga Filipino na anay advance nga kinabuhi nagtrade na sa China. So naanay sining og kultura og organize na ang katilingban gi-contrast niya ang maling claims sa Kastila.
So now, let's proceed to Rizal's annonation of Morga Successus. So after publishing the Nori Matanghari in 1887, Rizal realized nga ang mga Filipino walay klaro og tinuod nga kasaysayan sa ilang kaugalingon nga nasod. Most histories at the time were written by Spaniards, especially sa mga prior ug daghang mga bias kay mas gi-emphasize man nila ang papel sa Spain kaysa mga achievements sa mga Filipino. That's why Rizal wanted to provide a more truthful account of Philippines history. So at first, gihangyo niya si Ferdinand Blumentritt nga musulat. Pero Blumentritt refused kay dili siya eyewitness sa Philippines daw. So Rizal decided nga he will do it himself. Mao nga iyang gipili ang Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas by Antonio de Morga. So now, let's dig into Antonio de Morga's background. So Antonio de Morga was not just an ordinary Spaniard. He was a part of Spanish government service since 1580. Na siya mga important positions, naging lieutenant government sa Philippines in 1593, o naging judge po siya sa audiensya in 1598. Nilid po siya sa battle against the Dutch in 1600s, pero napildi sila. Mauna nga nibalik siya sa Mexico. So in 1609, he published Sucesos de las Islas Filipinas in Mexico. This book became one of the few secular or non-religious accounts about the Philippines. So next is the Rizal's research process. So Rizal did not just rely on a single book. So while nagstay siya sa London from September to December 1889, he worked inside the British Museum. Imagine, naghandcopy pa siya sa mga libro ni Morga kay wala pa may mga photocopy or digital copies atong nga panganahon. So dili lang kana, he compared Morga's accounts with other historians like Pigafetta, Chirino, Colin, Gaspardi, San Agustin, and Combes. So this shows Rizal's dedication and critical approach. Dili lang siya kanang basta nagsalig, but he checked other resources to make sure nga tinuod ang mga information. So why Rizal choose Morga? So anong si Morga man? So Rizal specifically choose Morga Sucesos for two main reasons. So first, kay eyewitness si Morga. So Morga lived during the transition period from pre-colonial Philippines to Spanish colonial era. So nakakita siya sa mga panghitabo first hand. So second is secular view. So unlike sa mga priors, kanang Morga was not just writing to glorify the church. His perspective was more secular, less biased, and more objective compared sa mga pari nga kasagaran nag-exaggerated sa rule sa Spanish. So now let's proceed to contributions of Rizal's annotation. So according to historian Florio Kibuyin, Rizal's annotations has four big contributions. So first, he introduced a modern historical method influenced by German historiography, where he critically analyzed sources. So second, it became a critic of colonialism. Rizal exposed how Spanish colonization destroyed many aspects of Filipino life and culture. So third, he placed the Philippines in an Asian Pacific context, showing that the Filipino were not background, but part of the largest Asian civilization. So lastly, his work inspires nationalism, Bonifacio, and the Katipunan. For example, Rizal's use writing
as a foundation for their revolutionary ideas. So, example of this is gold mining annexation. So, Morga mentioned nga before the Spaniards, Filipino were actively engaged in gold mining. But after the colonization, they stopped mining and only keep the gold they already had. So, Rizal annotated that this was because of the abuses of Encomenderos and Spaniard soldier. So, who exploited and oppressed the natives. This annexation shows Rizal's courage to highlight colonial exploitation. Next is the Rizal goal. So, kanisya is, ang goal ni Rizal is to awaken Filipinos' awareness of their true past nga falsify sa mga Spaniards and to give Filipinos a foundation of identity and pride sa ilang kagalingon nga culture and to use history as a way to build the nation's future. So, in conclusion, Rizal's annotations of Marga Sucesos was not just about correcting history. It was about giving Filipino back their dignity, reminding them of their rich culture before colonization, and inspiring them to fight from freedom. Mauni nga work ni Rizal ang giconsider as a part of the intellectual foundation of the Filipino nationalism. So, that's all. Thank you so much for listening.